flood you. What? What if your government tries to throw you in a can? What? You're gonna want a shotgun. Oh. What? An automatic rifle. And a lot of ammo. Guns?
We're all set to riot by a gun. Before you lose your Second Amendment, by a gun. They'll burn you out like a Waco. They'll stick your ass in a camp. 10-40 cops in riot gear, gonna kick your ass and laugh. The revolution is on its way. Better lock and load your AK. Back up, back up, back up, back up, back up, back up, back up. Before you wish you bought a gun. Back up, back up, back up, back up, back up, back up. Before you wish you bought a gun. We're all set to riot by a gun. Before you lose your Second Amendment, by a gun. They gave your money to the banksters. They stole your pension funds. It's time that we took to the streets. It's time we had our turn. A revolution is on its way, and the founding fathers would say, back up, back up, back up, back up, back up, back up, back up. Before you wish you bought a gun. Back up, back up, back up, back up, back up, back up. Before you wish you bought a gun. Revolution's not clean and neat. You gotta riot in the streets. Revolution's not
Oh, it's like it's that time, folks. It's Tuesday. We are live. This is PrimerTime on UCY.tv. My name is Michael, and I'm watching the place burn down.
Some people just want to watch it burn. I'm Nick, and it's a hot and muggy one, and I'm not just talking about in Philadelphia. It is the type of temperature outside where it's still in the high 80s, and we have this stuff falling from the sky that's making everything sticky.
I'll tell you, I went out and got to shoot, and it's been in the mid 90s, and it rained in the last 2 days. And I'll tell you what, it was raining this morning, and you could tell that if it wasn't overcast, it would have just been a murderous day. And unfortunately, I think all that rain did to do was serve to make the grass grow and activate the freeze-dried mosquito seeds that I'm sure the county plants as a tax incentive.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's bad. I mean, I'm not a guy that usually, complains about mosquitoes, but when they get me, they seem to get me good, and it's always right at the ankles. And for a guy like me, having had that Achilles tendon surgery a while back, I'll tell you what, it doesn't feel good to scratch the ankles sometimes.
No, and speaking of cankles, looks like Hillary did get take nomination tonight.
Well, I mean that was a foregone conclusion.
It really was, and I think there's been a whole lot of butthurt by the burn victims, and rightly so. They got robbed, and I'm not necessarily a fan of Trump, but he called it out as being crooked. I think a lot of Bernie backers are kind of seeing that now. There's been a lot of anti-gun rhetoric at the convention, and got to take a look at who Hillary's vice president is, because we don't necessarily like to talk about Hillary because we enjoy our lives and do not wish to commit arkancide.
Well, she's not from Arkansas. You got to remember that. I mean, talk about a woman without a home. She's from Illinois. She's from New York. She's from Arkansas. She's from wherever the wind blows.
The definition of carpetbagger is the good nominee.
Yeah.
So
carpet's something.
Shout out to Lynn Foster, the Rothschild people.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at the beloved's running mate,
TimKaine.
And go ahead.
I was going to say, there's that'll tell you a lot about the direction of the campaign it's going to go. Is when you bring up the vice presidential, selection on stage, and he begins his remarks in Spanish with a pledge to get amnesty approved within the first 100 days of the administration. That tells you something right there. You if you haven't heard it anywhere else, folks, you heard it here on Primer Time. Brown is the new black.
I would dare say so. And the Democratic Party also has its own views on Hispanic voters. We can get into that a little bit later. But TimKaine, he gets a absolute 100% rating from our friend Bloomberg and Mayors Against Illegal Guns and all those assorted umbrella groups that are underneath the Bloomberg name. And he gets an F from the NRA. And
Yeah.
I personally like to criticize the NRA because I don't think they stand up for Americans' rights enough. And if this guy gets an F, somebody from a group I kind of think he's a little bit pansy, this dude's bad news.
Yeah,
And
totally bad news. So you got to remember where TimKaine comes from, and it's here in my current location of Virginia. And in 2007, you got to remember there was the Virginia Tech shooting that occurred by a mentally defective South Korean who was studying in the United States, killed 32. So at that time, Governor TimKaine vetoed a bill to mitigate the chances of any type of mass casualty event by allowing Virginians to keep a loaded gun in their car for self-defense. So yeah, he's not a friend of the gun-toting public, and he is a gun grabber. So what else do you knew that as part of the Democratic platform, gun control is right up there with sacrificing babies to Hillary.
yeah, and she'll be needing a whole fresh load, I do believe, for the inauguration ceremony. I firmly believe it's a foregone conclusion. In these recent events, there's been a load of the hacked emails, which have been tacitly acknowledged being accurate by the accusation that Putin hacked the emails.
So let's before we get into that, let's examine this. Okay, so we have, what is it, at last count, 20,000 emails that were leaked just days in advance of the DNC, right, their convention. This is claimed the scalp of the party's chairman, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, that fine Irish name. She has been relegated to a non-speaking role at her convention and forced to resign come Friday afternoon when the convention wraps up. So that's a victim right there. But you know who the victim is in all this? It's obviously Hillary, because the poor Russian intelligence agency that has worked on the behalf of Putin to go and basically unjustly or illegally take these emails and put them out there for public use. That's the crime. Not what was contained within the emails, from her and her staff. Not the words
Absolutely
that they choose
not.
to use.
We shall shoot the messenger. We shall
it.
shoot the messenger.
That's it. So so here's the thing that I think is hilarious. The left, for whatever brand they are, celebrates the Bradley Manning, celebrates the Edward Snowdens, but they'll crucify the folks who come and expose what is going on at the very top of the food chain. And so here's the thing. You know what? I sincerely hope that all these Bernie backers, all these 20-somethings who are pining for free college and a $15 minimum wage, I hope they hold true to their convictions and they stay home and they don't vote, or vote for somebody other than Hillary Clinton. That's what I hope. Because did you happen to catch Hillary Clinton's explanation of whether or not her or her staff saw any of the content of those emails?
I did not happen to catch. What did she say?
It was, you know what? As a president, Harry Truman was spinning in his grave. Harry Truman was very famous, of course, for having the sign on his desk that read, "The buck stops here." Personal.
So she collateralized the buck and turned it into a debt obligation and sold it off at
yeah.
at
I've never seen
price.
I've never seen anyone in any kind of position of leadership or public trust take as little responsibility for her own shortcomings, let alone the shortcomings of the organization that she is the organizational head of, as Hillary Clinton. I can't imagine another organization that has somebody as willing to to shirk their duties and responsibilities as she is. And the sad thing is that you're never going to get through to the people who wholeheartedly believe in Hillary. You're never going to be able to say anything or prove anything or even disprove what they believe in order for them to see the light. It's just not possible.
I'll take
a better chance of
in
converting ISIS guys to Catholicism than you do of converting Hillary backers to any other candidate. That's the way it is.
It's very interesting, and if the public will take note, that Hillary always starts off at the apex. She starts off at the height. That she's always at the top of the pack, and as more people get to know her, she turns off more and more voters, and every time it's a struggle at the end.
Yeah, not only is it a struggle at the end, you take a look. There's usually the post-convention bounce. CNN, which is the mouthpiece for the Democratic National Committee, came out and said that Donald Trump had a 4-point vote lead over 4 percentage point and a vote lead over Hillary post-convention. And this convention has done nothing, so far to unify Democratic voters. I've heard,
and to quote Sarah Silverman, the fine Irish actress, you Bernie backers are being ridiculous. You're being ridiculous.
That's right. So that was a marching orders from the resident Red Sea pedestrian.
I would dare say, who runs Hollywood? It's not you.
Ask Rick Sanchez about that.
We could ask Joel Stein from the Los Angeles Times, who wrote a fairly interesting article in June of 2008 on who exactly runs Hollywood. I would dare say, use your favorite search engine and put in Joel Stein, who runs Hollywood. That's an interesting article to come up. It's from the LA Times. Should come up for a second option there.
Well, hey, I want to jump into some gun business. We've got all week to talk about what we see happen tonight. Yeah, but I went to Ye Olde Walmart and was able to pick up some 120 grain open tip match Remington ammo in 300 blackout, and
that's nice. I'm actually making that when a large manufacturer like Remington is making that ammunition, it's going to stick around. So
yeah, exactly.
Kind of nice.
The fact that Walmart has picked it up and is carrying it in good stock, that was a benefit for me. I did actually see that we are starting to actually get some kind of stock on hand of 22. Not only 22 long rifles, CCI mini mags, and the AR tactical. They're starting to get the Federal Auto Match. They're starting to get all versions of 22, whether it's 22 long, 22 short, or 22 long rifle. And like I said, the 17 HMR is on the shelf in good numbers, but the ammo seems like it's starting to stick around.
We should bring up exactly why we referred to Walmart in this situation. Nick and I both hold a very sincere belief that if you own a firearm, you should have it in a caliber that's readily available for you to pick up at any sort of retailer. And we weren't necessarily specifying Walmart. It's just that Walmart happens to be everywhere. If you're in the market to purchase a firearm in this interesting time frame that we have going on in this nation, one of your first concerns should be that the ammunition is available and is priced well enough that you can become familiar with the firearm, become well acquainted with how it works, how well you can put bullets on target with a practice ammunition, and then also be able to buy a suitable defense ammunition for it. And for the interesting thing, Walmart picking up 300 blackout is kind of actually a very big step, because now it throws 300 blackout into the realm that Nick and I like to kind of refer to firearms that are useful.
Right, and it's no longer this obscure round. You've got a lot of different opportunities. Midway USA is starting to carry it in big numbers. Natcha Shooter Sports or Shooting Sports, I should say, and Lucky Gunner all have them for online sales. And one of the best prices that I've seen for, say, the Hog Hammer, which is a 130 grain bullet with the TSX, the Barnes TSX ammo. This is $23.99, so it's a little bit more expensive than $1 a round, But the way I look at it is, this is something that 6, 7, 8 months ago would have been $33 a box, and this is ammunition that is good on hogs. It's good on deer. Outside of
Predators of all.
yeah, exactly, coyotes, fox, you name it.
Two-legged predators would be
That would be serious damage on the two-legged predators.
Absolutely, and it's really nice that another option like that has come in, because that's a serious defense caliber, and I've expressed my concerns about it. And through Nick's wisdom, I've actually kind of made a compromise in my view on it.
Yeah, I think the watermelon test is an accurate depiction of what you can expect.
The watermelon test is actually fairly wonderful. We should note that a close associate of ours, General Francisco Franco, has posted a few videos of watermelon tests with a certain rifle caliber.
That is a test known as the Freedom Party versus the Green Party.
That's exactly it. Vote with that finger.
Yep.
Speaking of that finger, let's get this out of the way real quick. Let's go over the 4 rules of firearm safety, and then we can talk about.
We're throwing a monkey wrench into the plans. Let's do it.
All right. First rule of firearm safety is every firearm is loaded until you are ready, and every firearm is loaded until you have visually and physically inspected the firearm, made sure that it is not loaded. Rule number 2 is keep the muzzle pointed in the safe direction at all times. Do not cover anything you do not wish to destroy. Rule number 3 is know what your target is and know what's beyond your target at all times. And the 4th and most important rule is keep the booger hook off the bang switch until you are ready to discharge the weapon. No negligent discharges, please. Speaking of which, let's talk about the United States military and some fairly interesting news coming out of that with the magazines.
Yeah, so we've got the soldier support system. Basically, the Army has something called Program Executive Office for Soldier Support Systems and Weaponry. Basically, what they've been able to do is come up with a product enhancement or product improvement on the magazines used in the M4 rifle. So that is, that's a significant step. We haven't had a major modification to the design of the M4 rifle probably since they did the anti-tilt followers. And then from there going back to the Vietnam days where they actually had.
They've modified the anti-tilt followers several times as well.
Right.
Those have been really the only upgrades to it.
Right, and that's it. It's been a consistent design, but you've got a couple different product enhancements. They basically gone over and made sure that the sidewalls are actually higher, which changes the loading profile of the round into the chamber. So this, according to the U.S. Army's actual statement, it said a mean increase of 3,000 or 3,000 rounds between a failure to feed. So, this is it's probably something that's going to be less expensive in terms of product enhancement, but it's going to increase lethality, and that's what we want for our soldiers. That's what we want for our fighting men and women. We want to put the best equipment in the best trained and best equipped hands. And
at another point, it's also good for the consumer because that means you now have a more effective home defense weapon, a personal defense weapon. You have a more effective sporting tool. So,
yeah, definitely.
Because those magazines will definitely enter the public market.
Oh, certainly. I mean, as soon as they get to a unit and they go to the range, that thing will enter the public market.
Right, and you can probably count on once those actually are available for retail. So you can probably count on those being. I would almost dare say at least 10% more than a PMag, and that may be just for its new, the newfangledness of it. And it may be because they've got, once it gets to a certain point, there's going to be manufacturers that have to pay license on that, because as a new design, it's always got a different license. So I could see that not being necessarily a first choice for somebody. But on the other side, it may increase the supply of the older magazines as kind of like maybe like a surplus dump.
Yeah, and you know, I think we've seen surplus, you know, GI Steel mags for as low as, you know, $6, maybe $8, you know, on the average. You know, that will this affect that price? You know, those steel mags are still going to work. Those steel mags are still going to be, you know, serviceable. You know, maybe it's time to stock up on those.
In this rifle or this new magazine being designed for the M4, perhaps some of the non-AR-15 M4 platforms out there that currently work with the current steel magazines and the PMags may not necessarily function well with this. So, you know, that's to be seen. It really hasn't hit the public yet. It's just been an announcement. So,
yeah,
pretty interesting times on that front, because that's something that doesn't normally change.
Right. Well, you know, and that's one of those things that when it comes to product enhancement, you know, sometimes it takes comment from the field to actually have things change. That was one of the first things that actually, you know, was said about the M16 rifle, was that it had a tendency to jam, and they took the word from the soldiers in the field in Vietnam in the jungle, and they made the enhancements to try and fix that problem. So, you know, will it work? I don't know. Let's see how it lasts.
Well, that's a very, very real world experience that's coming up, and let's go from the real world to the pretend world here for a second, and the pretend world with a touch of realness to it. Let's go to Pokemon.
Pokemon.
So the current craze now is PokemonGo, and well, the way I'm almost sad to admit I kind of know a little bit about this PokemonGo, just because it's been the craze and it's been nonstop, and it's been really, really hard to avoid seeing news about it. But I guess what it is it's some sort of app that you use through your phone, and kids walk around with the camera playing on the phone and looking for invisible things and following maps and making sure they're taking photographs of everything. And this has led to people being not situationally aware. I could generously count that as.
Yeah, we've had a couple of people who have lost their lives paying attention to the screen and not to the world around them.
And we've got somebody who decided to buck that trend, and he actually defended himself against somebody who was trying to rob him while he was, I don't know, catching Pokemon. Jesus, it sounds so stupid.
It does.
Sorry.
It sounds dumb.
We're just talking about Pokemon so we can put it in the title on YouTube and get a whole bunch of views.
Yeah, that's it. So basically he is a concealed carry holder who was able to defend himself as an armed man, and you know, he was accosted and demanded their possessions. So the concealed carrier holder drew his weapon, and two sides exchanged fire. So,
in a very unusual twist of events, this story does not happen in Florida.
No, this is straight out of Vegas.
Usually, you read something like that, and it says it usually starts off with a Florida man today.
Yeah, yeah. We got nothing but love for our Florida listeners, but
we got some good.
Yeah.
Out to my buddy.
And you know, the funny thing is that actually when you're dealing with a story out of Las Vegas, it's quickly followed by North Las Vegas police quickly shot the individual. That's normally the headline that I see.
Yeah. Vegas is what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and you may stay in Vegas 6 feet under.
There you go. Well, the good thing is that it's a dry heat and you don't decompose as fast.
That's right. The Anunnaki will be able to recover your bones in the future. All right, so let's talk about something kind of serious. We've had some issues going on with terrorism in France and in Germany.
Yes.
And the most recent in Germany was a 17-year-old male somehow got a hold of a deactivated weapon that was used as a prop in a movie and promptly reactivated it. And we can discuss that in a moment. Had a Glock 17, which is a 9mm pistol, and 300 rounds of ammunition. It didn't give any kind of information on how many magazines he had. And he proceeded to go out and terrorize an area, and he shot up 8 people and then committed suicide.
And that happened in Munich last week. And then recently, within the last 2 days, in the also Bavarian town of Ansbach, which is actually home to a sizable population of Americans, had an individual who had, basically pledged allegiance to a terror organization and attempted to gain entrance to a music festival, was denied entrance, and then he subsequently blew himself up, injuring an additional 12 people. The funny thing that I see in all this is just the push that goes in immediately to controlling the narrative about, what the individual's intentions were, what his motives were, and how quickly could we get into the mind of the individual when he's done this. This supposedly was an individual who had been denied asylum and was going to be resettled outside of Germany, and he wasn't down with that. So what do all good jihadists do? They go out and try and kill people, and it's funny to me because
what do all good politicians?
Yeah, you can't let a crisis go to waste,
resulting chaos. So once again, there's a call for stricter gun control in Germany, which has fairly strict gun control as Americans are used to it. It's one of the more liberal in Europe for gun possession and gun ownership. I don't really see how it can be any stricter.
Here's the thing.
Germany.
Here's the thing. I was living in Germany at the time of one of the more recent mass shootings there. Put it this way: most of these shootings happen because somebody breaks into a home, gains access to a safe, and steals firearms. So the individual's a criminal right off the bat, anyhow. And then from there, Germany is not a society that believes the average individual, has the right to own a gun. It's not in their constitution. That was one of the bad things that we as Americans did by inflicting on the Germans is a deep sense of shame and basically we've changed the national mindset of people who had very strong nationalistic tendencies, very strong nationalistic feelings, and made them feel that was a disgrace or shameful. And they're getting what their chancellor wanted. They're getting 1 million plus refugees, if they call them that. And basically, these are economic refugees, if anything. Mostly they're just terrorists who are trying to infiltrate.
I think honestly, they're a weapon, and the kebab is a gift from the bagel merchant.
Yeah, there you go.
My take on it.
There you go.
Enjoy your pot trip. The merchant loves you.
Yeah. So the big thing is that in Germany, the average bear doesn't own a firearm, and only hunters are allowed to keep them at their homes. So when you look at it like this, the individual was already breaking a ton of laws prior to conducting his attack. At the McDonald's where he lured teenagers in with the promise of free food. This was the individual who was a German Iranian, and then like I said, the one that was at the music venue was supposedly an Afghan. You can't say anything other than I've got people that I know in Germany, and they'll tell you straight up, this is an invasion, and it's not only an invasion; it's an invasion that's been invited by the very people who lead their country. Chancellor Angela Merkel, who's been in power for a good long time, is actually starting to field some tough questions, and a lot of people are calling on her to step down.
Makes you wonder what took them so damn long.
Well, the thing is that Germans tend to like
propaganda. Is the propaganda that strong? Is post-war beatdown we gave them that strong?
It is.
Because they ruined their nation.
Yeah, not only that. they'll tell you that as God, it was there's the news station ZDF, their programming director came on, and he came on multiple news outlets and said, yeah, we have been the mouthpiece for whatever our government says, and even worse, whatever the United States government says. Any story that doesn't paint the chancellor in a favorable light, we don't air. And that tells you how thick the propaganda is. And the Germans as a people, they've gotten a good dose of propaganda in their history. They've been able to suck down some propaganda. And it's it's one of those things that in a free society, people question it. But when you're in that society that is free in some regards and in other regards is pretty oppressed, the individual firearms owner, I'll tell you what, there's nothing like getting a wake-up call at 6 in the morning and being called from the Ordnungsamt, which is the office of the police department that's responsible for verifying that your weapons are being stored correctly, to go inside, open up your house to them, and let them take a look at your firearms. That wouldn't happen here it wouldn't happen here in the States, I don't think.
I don't know, man. Ice-T wrote that song, 6 in the morning. So, yeah. Police at your door. Yeah, that happens here. I mean, we see it. I mean, everything that's going on, I think, is in response to that. And, I mean, I'll say it again, PokemonGo has killed more people than legal marijuana. And, honestly, the first step to, solving this problem with the cops is to legalize marijuana. Step 2 is to stop paying out cop brutality payments out of the city coffers and out of the taxpayers' pockets. The cop pays for it. And when the cop is broke, it comes out of the cops' union and retirement fund. And I'll tell you what, you're no longer going to see the 21-year-old on steroids shooting a dude, because the 62-year-old guy who's getting ready to retire will grab his gun and say, "You are not fucking up my retirement bass boat, Junior."
Exactly. And he worked long and hard to get that Ranger bass boat.
Exactly. And like Gringo says, you can finance one of them for $40,000 for about 12 years. So
it's the two greatest days when you have a boat is the day you get it and the day you sell it.
That's right. Boat is bust out another 1,000.
Yeah.
So groundbreaking story from United Press International. Sort of a shocker. Most gun crimes not committed by a legal gun owner, a Pittsburgh study shows. This is written by Ed Adamczyk, and shows that the majority of people using guns in crimes are not the weapons legal owner, according to a University of Pittsburgh study. An analysis of 762 crimes conducted by the college's Graduate School of Public Health show that nearly 80% of crimes in which a gun was recovered by the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police Firearms Tracking Unit in 2008, the perpetrator was not the lawful owner of the gun. What a surprise.
But see, they go even a little bit further, because, this is the UPI. So immediate improvement in firearm surveillance is needed to save lives. It is estimated that there are more than 300 million guns in the U.S., and we don't know where they are. So, one of those things that it doesn't make any sense that if you have a population that's anywhere between 315 and the inanimate object and not the person responsible, because individual responsibility doesn't exist anymore.
Nope, that's not. Personal responsibility is not one of the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto, comrade.
Yeah, absolutely not. And and that's the funny thing, is because I see. There was a story that said there has not been a single United States flag seen within the Wells Fargo Center for the Democratic National Convention. Although they
I caught that yesterday. There were no American flags there.
Yeah.
It was a sort of futuristic-y light blue. Strangely enough, a color reminiscent, really blue. I would dare say there was quite a few incidences of talking down to the crowd, and didn't really hear any sort of pride in the nation or anything. And even Michelle Obama, with her wonderful statement about how every day she wakes up in a home built by slaves, and isn't it wonder how far she's come? I guess you can't shake it off.
No, I mean that's the problem, is that socialism only works as long as you have other people's money, right? I mean, that's been quoted time and time and time again in one form or another. And the thing that you have to see is that you've got Bernie Sanders, who made his entire platform about railing and roiling against Wall Street. I can't even do it with a New York accent. It's just not within me to do it. But roiling against Wall Street, roiling against the moral turpitude that is capitalism, and yet he gets up on stage with the same person he said was responsible for it. So it's crazy to me. And every single one of those Bernie backers, they're probably justified in saying, hey, you know what? We got sold a bill of goods on a revolution that was no more a revolution than it was, a coronation for Hillary Clinton.
So I'm going to make a play on words. I'm going to say Bernie definitely sold out the revolution, but I spell that SOULED.
Ooh, there you go. I'm snapping my fingers.
In a Z formation, brother.
That's some cold knowledge, brother.
I hope the burn victims actually do not fall for the hype and stay the hell away from Hillary, man.
I'll tell you what. The cool thing I will say about people that are on the left, they do protesting very well. I mean, they take college classes in it, so it's no surprise. And plus, most everybody else on the other side has to work anyways to support them, so you don't see a whole lot of counter protest going on. But what I will say is that they've come up with some good chants. And one of the ones that I heard a large group of Bernie backers chanting was, it didn't take a lot of imagination, but the point was salient. It was basically stating that they weren't going to vote for Hillary Clinton, and it was hell no DNC. We won't vote for Hillary. So, go good on them.
That needs a good scratch and a booming beat behind that. Yeah. Hell no, DNC, we won't vote for Hillary. I'd bump that in my automobile.
Yeah. Hey, man, I want to give a quick shout out to a good friend of the show, Oddball. He's out on assignment right now, out somewhere in the world, and he's got about 5 minutes to listen in. So we wanted to give him a big shout out, and he actually got a chance to visit the Promised Land. And he told me he's got some shekels for us. So thanks, Oddball. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Greet the merchant for us.
Yes. And don't worry.
I want to know if he got cool. I want to know if he got one of them cool hats.
Yeah, I don't know. So
you get a discount coupon to Botac Tactical. That's my next question.
So yeah,
are you an affirmed Trump voter?
Yeah. No. So speaking
off
of
negative waves, Moriarty.
Moriarty, yeah. So speaking of things that don't make sense, we've got California Governor Jerry Brown basically going in saying if you build a firearm in your house, whether it be an AR or any other firearm, that you must now petition for a serial number, and that's big business. This is Assembly Bill 857. So
this kind of goes directly against the established practice with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. If you build and several states actually have ordinances regarding the building of firearms and the elimination of the oversight of numbers and serial numbers and registration. And it looks to me like California overstepped its bounds in this one.
Yeah,
that's nothing new.
Yeah, that's nothing new. I mean, this is Governor Jerry Brown 2.0.
And I mean, it's not even anything for the last week. Seriously, like overstepping the bounds. Look what happened in Massachusetts this last week. The Attorney General in Massachusetts unilaterally outlawed, the quote unquote scary black rifles, the assault rifles, and
it's insane. It's not only black rifles. It's all semi-automatic.
Right.
Your Ruger 1022 is now banned in the state of Massachusetts. just crazy. And you know what? The way I look at it is, it's a progressive state. You know, they are the people that gave you the Kennedys. It is the state that now has given you Elizabeth Warren. You get what you pay for out there, and you know, maybe the Attorney General Maura Healey is one of these who believes that the law doesn't apply to her. So, you know, what do you do? You leave the state.
We've seen that in the recent California decision. Usually, there's a provision recently that exempts law enforcement from these, these draconian declarations and really, honest to God, just fiat statements. And in California, it wasn't necessarily just the police officers who got an exemption, or it was anybody who's in state government who got these exemptions too. So it's definitely setting apart a different class of people. You know, there's the plebes and then the ruling class. You know,
Yeah,
are you an inner party or are you a pole?
Yeah,
so
the funny thing is that this was intended to ban copycat, weapons or weapons that skirted the ban due to a modification. So, you know, the way I look at it is if you're a Second Amendment lover, Massachusetts is not the place for you. And it's sad because Massachusetts is basically where a good portion of our American firearms history resides, specifically in Springfield and West Springfield, Massachusetts, down the road in Hartford, Connecticut with Colt. You got Smith & Wesson, you've got Savage right there in Massachusetts. It's a sad thing. You know, you talk about revisionist history and wanting to whitewash entire periods. This is what it is. It's trying to eliminate the history and the heritage of firearms manufacturing from the area, and certainly not only that, but to have the God-given right as an American to own firearms. I mean, they've just rammed right through it.
Well, it shows in Los Angeles. You got the LA made a huge scene out down 7,000.
Hey, did we lose you, Michael?
Okay, you got me?
Yeah, I have you now.
Okay, yeah. I mean, Nick, it's just everywhere, and it's not only the actions, but it's the resultant propaganda from it, which continually just mesmerizes the populace. I mean, what about in LA where they melted down the 7,000 guns and made the 7,000 seized firearms, which honestly in Los Angeles, if they see a firearm, they're going to seize it. It's not necessarily did you commit a crime with it.
Right.
It's very, very difficult.
And so I basically gone
to get the firearm back.
Yeah, I went and dropped that story. Coming in a little caveat right there is that it will autoplay video with some sound. So go ahead and turn your volume down. And it's an annual event. They've been doing this for about the past 23 years. And they're saying that they're melting down about 7,000 individual firearms that are stacked like cordwood, and they're attempting to use the processed remains of the firearms to create rebar for road construction projects between California, Arizona, I think Utah, and Nevada. So, and a quick quote from one of the officers there was that, sometimes people don't want the firearms back, or the victims or the victims' families don't want the firearms back, and we can't sell them, so we've got to destroy them. So, it's ingrained in state government in California that you don't have a right to this, and that the state government knows better than you do.
And they make it for people who definitely want to get it back. They don't make it easy. It's not similar to getting your car out of car jail or anything.
Yeah, no. This is not like getting your stuff out of impound.
No, it's not. And honestly, I think that's fairly near illegal. Something I'd like to know is it's along the lines of this subject. I've not seen any kind of news about it. Maybe I could try and get a hold of this guy. But when the thing happened in Dallas, there was the initial person of interest. I believe his name was Corey Hall, and there were some pictures of him walking around with an AR-15 in Texas legal open carry. And the story was that when the shooting happened in Dallas, he ran up to a cop and surrendered his firearm, and the police officer gave him a business card saying he could, pick it up at whatever point. And then he had some issues, I guess. It took him 5-6 hours to get out of his interview after he voluntarily turned himself in to clear his name after the shooting event. I wonder if he got his weapon back.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not.
I really wouldn't doubt that he did not get it back.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is, take a look going as far back as Hurricane Katrina in the aftermath right there. You had folks crossing Lake Pontchartrain that were getting stopped by Louisiana state troopers and being relieved of their firearms, at the individual location where they were stopped. It doesn't surprise me that law enforcement.
Well, and we can even go back to the well publicized video of the old lady who wouldn't, and I'm going to call her old. She was probably in her mid-70s.
That's pretty old. I'll give you that. That's pretty old.
Well, we're all going to get there someday, hopefully, with some luck. But she was a longtime resident of her home, and she felt safe in her location. And I believe it was the county sheriff came to her home. And she said, no, she had food, she had water, she was prepared, she could go up to the second floor if something happened, she was stocked up there. And then she promptly said, and I even have my gun for protection. And she pulled out I think it was a Smith & Wesson 32 caliber revolver from it was an old gun. It was not like a Model 10 or anything like that. It was I think they called them lemon squeezers, is what they called them at one time. It was a gun from most likely before 1920. And two big boys. I mean, look, this is the South. We make our cops big here. Usually cops were male cops here kind of get that job because they're just no longer hiring for brick walls.
Yeah.
And these two big boys just laid that 75-year-old lady that probably didn't weigh more than $110. Just time he tackled her, gun, boom! They just laid that old lady out, and then cuffed her, and after they smashed her into the the china cabinet and all that, and wrecked the house, and you're being served.
It's right.
You're being served.
There you go.
Refer to the ghetto definition of being served because you're being served.
Yeah. Well, the good Irish comic that we used to have among us, he basically said that there was a difference between customer service and a service charge, and you're basically taken in the rear end. So and by this I don't mean Dennis Leary. I'm talking about George Carlin.
And there's I truly believe that the people who have a voice like George Carlin, I'll say Bill Hicks, in a sort of comedic way, I think a lot of them who were sort of critical of the system and on point kind of disappeared early.
Yeah. That has a tendency to happen.
Right, and it doesn't stop at comedians. It happens with South American leaders quite often.
Well, yes, it does.
Camps. And it happens to people who piss off Hillary, so that's why we don't talk about her a whole lot.
And that's one of the things that I think is gonna, she didn't conduct an interview for months at a time. She faced almost no scrutiny. She got a pass on everything. It's going to be different when it comes to individual campaigns. She's going to have to face the Donald here anytime soon. And while Donald may not be, he may not be the squeakiest clean guy, I think he's going to come at her with some gloves off, and he's not going to be nice.
Well, I'll tell you what, he might come after her with some gloves off, but look, I do not count out the Clinton machine. I truly think that they're going to nail Trump on his Russian connections. And I mean, let's be honest, Trump ran a casino, right? You
Oh
don't
yeah,
get you don't get your trash taken out
in Atlantic City. Oh yeah.
you don't get your trash taken out of a casino unless you deal with some sort of underworld figure. You don't get a lot of things done at the level that he operates at unless you consult with some sort of organized crime figure. Let's not even count in the fact that he's well acquainted with the Pharisees who hand out the shekels at a very, very high interest rate. So, yeah, and a lot of those Pharisees happen to be Russians, and they are the Russian mob, and Trump is tied up with the Russian mob. I mean, it's an undoubtable situation, and she's going to nail him with it.
But the only problem is that Hillary has her own Russian connections. So
but look at the amount of spin that she's getting. And I mean, I dropped you an email that she wrote. I mean, between her and Lynn Foster de Rothschild, who is the wife of the richest man in the world, they talk about using Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. They use that man like an errand boy.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're trying to get him to do a full court press.
And he is the step and fetch it for the lizard queens.
Yeah, that is the full court press in dealing with the Mideast peace process. He had to give up a vacation in Vail. So give the guy his props.
5 a.m. Aspen time.
There you go.
It's not Sam Aspen. It's 5 a.m.
There you
Aspen.
go. Well, and like I said, you were talking about the emails, and for those of us who happen to be of the Hispanic flavor, some of us in the Hispanic world tend to be whiter than others. We did originate out of Western Europe, and we did come from the Roman legions. It was disheartening to see that we as a ethnic group and as a I guess you could call them a race, because race and ethnic group is almost interchangeable now because words no longer have meaning. To me, being a Hispanic is an ethnicity. But go ahead. Give me some of the individual words that were used to describe Hispanics, because when you give it to me, I'm gonna go ahead and basically, she came out with 5 individual names or statements about Hispanics, and basically the Hispanic millennials are going to be the targeted audience because they're now a larger demographic than the baby boomers, and they are growing.
And they have one sure shot to capture this demographic, or you lose the window of opportunity for generations.
There you go, and that goes to the first point. She said the Hispanics are the most brand loyal consumers in the world. Known fact. Number 2, Hispanic brand loyalty is generational. Entire families. Once brand loyal, he says once
Let
brand.
the family choose La Victoria tortillas and do not deviate.
That's it. That's it. Once you go to Cholula hot sauce, there is no Texas Pete. So, once a brand loses its loyalty, however, Hispanics never re-engage. We are unforgiving.
Unforgiving.
There you go. If a brand earns this loyalty, Hispanics will be loyal and influence family and extended family to be loyal. This concern is a long-term relationship. And then number 5, which would be Hispanics are the most responsive to storytelling. Brands need to speak with us. And, this is the salient point right here is the last comment is, without a comprehensive brand strategy and plan, the DNC will lose the opportunity to acquire the Hispanic consumer. So listen up, folks. Brown is the new black. And did you ever see that movie called A Soldier Story?
I did. That's a very interesting look at race relations in the United States.
Exactly. One of the best quotes out of the entire movie is, "Look, the black race can't afford you no more," and that is the DNC with blacks. The DNC can't afford you no more, and they're moving on.
I kind of feel that, and they should have seen that when she. pure and tasteless pandering, honestly. When I carry hot sauce in my purse, I'm just like you.
Yeah.
Well,
I go to
we have
Chipotle. I'm just chilling. I'm just chilling in Cedar Rapids. That was Hillary on the campaign trail in Iowa. That was classic. Because you know who just chills in Cedar Rapids? I don't even think people in Iowa chill in Cedar Rapids.
Shout out to our buddies in Iowa.
There we go.
4-letter state. Fuck.
Yeah.
What up, Jack? That's a shout out to my buddy Jax.
There you go. So good. The good Otto von Bolschwing has dropped that in chat. So you know we're gonna get some good stuff out of this email dump. I expect a good another batch to get dropped pretty soon.
Well, I do take part in the Twitter, and I don't necessarily send a lot of the tweets, but I read it. I use it to read it. It's another venue for information gathering, I find. And I've subscribed to Kim.com, and I don't know if you're familiar with this guy.
Kim.com. He was the Pirate Bay founder.
Mega Upload, I believe, was his.
Well, he was,
or maybe he was a Pirate Bay.
He was Pirate Bay, and Pirate Bay went there. But yeah, he did Mega Uploads. He's a German who, by way of New Zealand, if I remember correctly.
He lives in New Zealand. The United States government got him because I don't know, he was copying Free Willy or something and putting it out there online, and the New Zealand government pretty much overturned the American authority in this case and give him all his stuff back, which, as we discussed earlier, takes a hell of a long time to do with the cops, and it ain't no different with the American government. And he's come out and said some fairly interesting things about the Hillary tweets. And he's made intimations that the next round of dump of Hillary tweets will put her in jail. Like, immediate arrest warrants issued type of thing. And
that won't happen.
I don't know, man. I mean, look, there's that email with Lynn Foster to Rothschild, and I don't want to harp on it. I don't give a shit what she does in her spare time or what carpet she licks or whatever, but the fact's the fact. That's the wife of the richest man in the world. That man holds the Queen's checkbook, and she calls her a favorite.
Yeah, well, there was a couple of X's and O's at that email signature.
Kissy. Yep. Yeah, it's a done deal.
Yeah,
and
feel bad for Huma because she's going to get ditched by two loves.
I think Huma is she's a lover, but she's not a peer. You know, she's kind of like a subordinate officer who's sleeping with the commander.
What do you call two Humas?
I don't know.
Hummus. So,
yeah.
There you go. Well, you know, it's one of those things that I want to make sure that people get a chance this weekend coming up if you can. Take your rifles out, take your pistols out, run a cleaning swab through them. Make sure that you got a light coat of lubricant on there. Do a little firearms maintenance this weekend.
That's it. Everybody, thanks a lot. UC White Hot TV. We love you very much. Thank you, Jules. Make you rock. Everybody stick around.
What patriot